public discourse in Ireland, including our public discussion of education. The terms in which the performance of teachers and of schools are discussed in our main media illustrate how powerful is the hold which this language has established. Even serious media outlets, with high-minded editorials on inequality, pander to the fascination with competition, with their league tables of feeder schools for universities and ITs. And I think it behoves you as teachers, whatever schools you're teaching in, to register and to resist this imposition of a competitive model of performance that takes such little account of the complex socioeconomic and familial variables operating outside the school, but profoundly determining what can be achieved within it. In my book, at least, league tables based on results in this narrow sense belong, as with all other scored games, in the sports section of the newspaper and not on its education page. The language we use to describe what we are doing, to express our vision and our values as educationalists, as teachers, remains the vital site of our engagement with public opinion. And here we do not seem to have advanced at all since 1995. Let me illustrate what I mean. On the 1st of March last, the Lunchtime News carried an item on grade inflation in the universities and the more general issue of our education standards, particularly in maths and science, where it was reported spokesmen for the business world out there had conveyed their concern to the then Minister, Mr. O'Keefe. The report continued, and I quote verbatim, I wrote it down, "The ASTI will say what the ASTI will say. But when Craig Barrett says there's grade inflation, then we have a serious problem." This is an extraordinary comment when you come to think about it. The point of my quoting this particular incident is not original. Indeed, it's rather obvious, and in common with others, I have repeatedly made it for many years. The point is this, that whatever aspect of social life is under review, the privileged perspective, the judgment, or indeed even the opinion, which must be heeded in preference to all others, is that of the business world, informed as it is by the fluctuating demands and values of the marketplace. This is the hegemonic discourse, so to speak, of our public affairs. The dominance of the language of business in all spheres of our life is a matter that I won't labour here today. As I have said on previous occasions, I know what I do and I know what you do. I teach students or pupils. I am not the provider of an educational product. In fact, we have regressed even further to the point where product has recently become even more superficially brand. Patients in hospitals are not clients or customers exercising choice in the sense in which the marketplace of business and commerce understands these words and these relationships. Why is it then that we allow ourselves to be coerced into a use of language that is inimical to many of the values and practices that are integral to our world of teaching and of caring? This is not just simply a cri de coeur. Let me ask you to consider this. If, for example, we were to insist on the use of plain, intelligible language in discussing the world of finance as it operated, and operated with such calamitous consequences in recent years in the world of banking, would the lunacy have continued for so long, climaxing as it did? If we had spoken of hedge fund operators and gladiators as gamblers playing with other people's money, would the mystique and the awe have been as overpowering as it was? Now, may I say, I am in no way hostile or indeed even indifferent to the social value of business people and business acumen. I value it very highly. Nor indeed am I in any way indifferent to the vital, the central importance of the material base for any society wishing to live in dignity. Of course I'm not. My argument is with the privileging of one perspective, of one explanatory language in the public debate on the full complexity of how we are meant or how we mean to live together. There is a yet more common coercion that we encounter every day, and this is the ubiquitous rhetorical ploy in our mass media of commanding the terms of the discussion by prefacing a point of view with the phrase, "the reality is," as if there were a singular reality to which all other positions or circumstances have to defer. The coercive effect of this phrase in what passes often for public debate on complex issues within Irish society must, I believe, be contested. Control the terms of the question, control the answer. This, it seems to me, is no more than a form of rhetorical bullying. Put it this way, the reality is we need a healthy, functioning banking system. Agreed. But the reality is two aged parents in their 70s with a son with intellectual or physical disabilities should not be left without support or respite care, or should not die racked with worry about what will happen to him when they are gone. Is that equally agreed? And what I'm saying is how we deal with these multiple realities is the measure of what kind of society we are or aspire to be. By all means, then, let us consult with and listen attentively to business leaders when we are considering educational grades and standards in the curriculum. Yes, and also to parents, clergy, doctors, dockers, and other section of the public whose views on such a central aspect of social order and cohesion are of course worthy of attention, and particularly worthy of the attention of teachers. But in addressing the convulsions within the financial sector and the incontrovertible evidence of utter freefall in ethical standards in this, as in many other parts of the commanding heights of our economy and social order, have any of you heard any minister say that they will consult with Miss Lyons, who teaches Chavis Christi in 4A, and who might be expected to have an informed perspective on ethics? Or with Nurse Lydon in the psychiatric ward, who deals with people whose nerves have gone and who have fallen into depression as a result of inability to cope with a tsunami of bills and demands as income falls, a job is lost, and debts prove crippling. And yet, Nurse Lyons might indeed have a perspective worth listening to on the ethics of high finance, just as the barons of Goldman Sachs may have an interesting point of view on what educational curriculum and standards should be. In short, the ASTI will say what the ASTI will say. Of course they will, and of course they should. Now, in considering, keeping an eye on the clock, I'm coming to, in considering the multiple miseries, as it were, of our current predicament, the common note in all explanations of the crisis is the way in which trust has been annihilated in many of the vital spheres of our social life, in politics and religion, in all the great institutions in which we have been accustomed to place our trust, in the inner sanctum, as it were, of our social contract. Trust has been the most serious, most alarming casualty of the current crisis. Trust, it is said, is at the root of the public sector's suspicions of or hostility to the terms of the proposed agreement currently being debated. There is no trust in the figures, no trust in the understandings, no trust in the promises, no trust in the will to deliver. There is no trust that the words mean what they seem to mean. There is a suspicion, a presumption on each side of the intention to deceive or to renege by the other party. I spoke to somebody recently who rather flippantly said that the two most terrifying sentences now, which he can hear on radio in the morning, in this order, the ones which make him freeze with terror, are: a government spokesman said that Taoiseach has full confidence in the minister. That's the first one. And the second one is from any number of organisations, the hierarchy, the HSE, or whoever it may be: we are satisfied that our systems are now robust and that this will not happen again. The two most terrifying statements on any bulletin that you can